Congratulations on finding this video with your battery at 60. You've just stumbled upon this newly released thriller. Let's see how a mutant baby chimpanzee unleashed a wave of blood and terror. Lucy's late mother was a professor of linguistics, dedicated to researching human-chimpanzee communication. Caesar was the research subject she brought into their home. After her passing, Caesar stayed with the family, becoming one of their own. Keeping him was the sisters' way of honoring their mother's memory. However, the seeds of danger were quietly beginning to sprout. One morning, their father Adam found a dead mongoose in the yard, right next to Caesar's cage. After communicating with Caesar through sign language, Adam discovered that Caesar also had bite marks on his body. Alerted, Adam told his daughters he would send the mongoose for testing, and asked Dr. Lambert to come and examine Caesar. Until then, Caesar had to remain locked in his cage. After giving these instructions, Adam left the children home alone. He promised to return soon for a proper family reunion. With their father gone, the teenagers began their party. They frolicked in the pool, enjoying their rare time off. Meanwhile, Dr. Lambert arrived and routinely opened the cage door. Inside, Caesar appeared lethargic, his breathing heavy and labored. It was clear his health was rapidly deteriorating. As Dr. Lambert tried to soothe Caesar, he took a pre-prepared injection from his bag, ready to treat the sick chimpanzee. To put Caesar at ease, Lambert even brought out a cute teddy bear. Suddenly a horrific transformation occurred. The once gentle Caesar snapped, violently tearing the flesh from the doctor's face. As night fell, the true terror began to unfold. While drinking water in the kitchen, Kate suddenly spotted a teddy bear. She leaned in and picked it up to take a closer look. Caesar suddenly appeared. He had somehow escaped from his cage unnoticed. Lucy went down to check, insisting that Caesar would never hurt anyone. Kate felt that something was seriously wrong. As the two were arguing, a scream echoed from outside. It turned out Caesar had made his way to the indoor pool, where he was attacking Nick by the poolside. Lucy noticed Caesar's erratic behavior, and Nick tried to restrain him with a rope. But when they accidentally triggered a musical toy, the noise startled Caesar, making him shriek. Under Lucy's constant soothing, Caesar gradually began to calm down. Lucy took the opportunity to tie him up, but this sent Caesar into a total frenzy. Hannah, convinced Caesar had lost his mind, suggested they find a gun to put him down, but Lucy adamantly refused, unable to bear the thought of harming someone she considered family. Just then the sound of Dr. Lambert's phone ringing broke the silence. Sound was coming from inside Caesar's cage, yet no one was answering. This only heightened everyone's sense of dread. Suddenly Caesar chewed through his restraints. Losing control again, he lunged at Erin and sank his teeth deep into her leg. The group fought to pull Caesar off as Nick shouted a quick warning. Everyone dove into the water, knowing that Caesar couldn't swim. Erin's leg was severely mangled and she was bleeding uncontrollably. It suddenly occurred to Erin that chimpanzees could contract rabies. If Caesar was infected, then she was likely infected as well. Trapped in this secluded mansion with no way out, they could only watch helplessly as Erin's life hung in the balance, while Caesar glared at them from the water's edge. To protect the others, Nick decided to risk everything. He lured Caesar toward the steep edge on one side of the pool. Then he used all his strength to shove Caesar off. Just as he thought Caesar had fallen to his death, Caesar not only dragged Nick off the cliff to his death, but he managed to climb back up himself. Devastated by the horrific death of her brother, Kate was inconsolable. She wanted to rush Caesar in a blind rage, but Lucy held her back firmly. He couldn't just stay trapped like this, especially with an injured friend to worry about. To save them, Lucy decided to risk everything to retrieve Nick's phone and call for help. She told Kate to look after Erin while she quietly crept out of the pool. Caesar watched in chilling silence as Lucy tossed an inflatable mattress into the pool, but just as she was about to reach the phone, it suddenly started ringing, alerting Caesar to her presence. Fortunately, Kate provoked Caesar to draw him toward her, buying Lucy a precious moment to catch her breath. Lucy made it back to the pool, but the phone's screen was shattered and nearly unusable. Their only hope was to redial the last number in the call. The call went through. The recipients were the two obnoxious guys they had met earlier. They thought it was all a prank and refused to believe the girls. As they desperately tried to explain, Caesar suddenly loomed over the pool, grabbing one of them by the hair. He had crawled along the light strips hanging directly above the water. With a violent tug, Caesar ripped the hair and scalp right off the man's head, while the phone sank to the bottom completely dead. Once again, they were plunged into total despair. Just then, Caesar grabbed his communication tablet from the side and clicked it to produce a bone-chilling sound. Dead. Meanwhile, Adam, who was at a book signing, received a text from Mary, the veterinarian. The mongoose had tested positive for rabies. Adam called his daughter, but her phone was upstairs in the bedroom, ringing unanswered. After the group took a brief moment to rest, they noticed that Caesar had temporarily moved away from the pool area. Lucy decides to risk going to the living room to retrieve her phone. Worried Kate decides to go with her. Moving cautiously through the mansion, the two reached the living room, successfully found the phone where it was charging, but then Lucy accidentally stepped on the TV remote. Who's that super cool? They scrambled into a closet holding their breath in terror of being discovered by Caesar. But Caesar sensed them anyway and began violently pounding on the wardrobe. The two of them recoiled, hiding behind the hanging clothes. Fortunately shielded by the layers of clothing, Caesar failed to spot them. Once the sound of Caesar walking away faded, Lucy stepped out and grabbed her phone. Caesar suddenly lunges and begins brutally beating Lucy. Seeing this, Katie quickly grabs a nearby pole and strikes Caesar with all her might. Seizing the moment, the two of them bolt for the exit. Kate slams and locks the glass door, trying to keep Caesar at bay. Since Caesar knows how to open doors, Kate has to desperately grip the handle, but Caesar suddenly lunges, then retreats. As Kate tries to flee, Caesar snatches her by the ankle, slamming her violently against the stairs. By the time Lucy turns back, Caesar has already grabbed a stone and is bashing Kate's skull. Kate is brutally murdered. Lucy watches helplessly as her best friend dies right before her eyes. Caesar then pins Lucy to the floor. Just then, her companions in the pool manage to lasso a rope around Caesar's neck. They dive back into the water, bracing their feet against the pool wall, and pull on the rope with everything they have. They attempt to drag the non-swimming Caesar into the pool, but they vastly underestimated Caesar's raw strength. Even together, they are no match for the enraged chimp as he drags the rope right back. Shortly after, those two playboys followed the address and arrived, thinking it was a party, and walked into the mansion completely off guard. Fine as ever, Drew paused to fix his hair in a glass reflection, unaware of the looming danger. The two split up to search. Drew headed upstairs and found a bedroom, where he found no one but stumbled upon Lucy's phone instead. It showed 11 missed calls, yet he remained oblivious to the eyes watching him nearby. Drew flicked on the lights. The dim, moody glow made him a bit excited. He hopped onto the bed, already imagining the good time ahead, but then he heard a strange sound, and a dark shadow began to emerge from behind the curtains. Terrified by Caesar's looming presence, Drew tried to diffuse the tension by mockingly thumping his chest like a chimp, but this backfired, further infuriating Caesar. The chimp shoved his fingers into Drew's mouth and brutally tore his jaw apart. Caesar then mimicked Drew's foolish gesture, shoving the severed jaw into his own mouth. Meanwhile, Brad was searching downstairs and spotted the three in the pool, calling out to them loudly. Girls tried to shush him, but suddenly an object was hurled from behind. Brad even picked it up to get a closer look at what it was. Sweet! While Caesar was attacking Brad, Hannah seized the moment to reach the living room. Grabbing her phone and car keys, she ran barefoot and scrambled into the car. For a second, a look of relief washed over her face. As she tried to start the ignition, she found that the key wouldn't fit. She had gotten into the wrong car. She scrambled out, trying to find her own, but she had already caught Caesar's eye. Hannah rushes back to the car, locks the doors, and pulls out her phone to call the police. But as soon as the call goes through, she realizes she doesn't know the exact address of Lucy's house. Meanwhile, Caesar slowly approaches, holding up a car key fob. Caesar presses the button and the car unlocks. Hannah reflexively locks it again in an instant. Caesar approaches the vehicle and peers through the window, staring intensely at Hannah as if he's in no rush to break in. Then Caesar's figure vanishes. A moment later, the trunk pops open. Hannah suffers a gruesome fate, being torn apart and bitten to death by Caesar. Lucy seizes the chance to find an escape route, but the second she steps into the yard pie, she steps on shards of broken glass. At the same time, sensing something is wrong, her father rushes home through the night. Caesar is distracted by the sound of the car, allowing Lucy to flee back inside. Caesar pursues her, but his rage suddenly vanishes as he gently takes Lucy's hand. Just as Lucy thinks Caesar might be getting better, Caesar pins Lucy down with brute force. He reaches out a finger again and thrusts it into Lucy's mouth. That critical moment, her father arrives whistling for Caesar, causing Caesar to pause his assault. But a second later, he lunges and sinks his teeth into the man's thigh, pinning him down and pummeling him mercilessly. Lucy seizes a spade and strikes Caesar across the face with all her might, shattering the spade upon impact. An enraged Caesar backhands her, sending Lucy reeling with a single blow. Caesar then pins the father down, grabbing his head and slamming it violently against the ground. Lucy screams from the side, desperate to draw Caesar's attention. In this brief moment of respite, Adam grabbed a wine bottle and smashed it into Caesar's face, then plunged the jagged glass into Caesar's chest. Just as the three of them thought Caesar was dead, he suddenly lunged up, charging toward them and shoving Lucy off the balcony. Luckily, Adam reacted quickly and caught Lucy, but Caesar fell straight down, impaled through the chest by a wooden stake, silenced forever. Finally, the police and ambulances arrived at the scene. None of Lucy's friends had survived. Her bitten sister, Irene, was rushed to the hospital. This bloody tragedy sparked by the virus seemed to have finally come to an end. But Lucy suddenly heard a chilling sound. Let me see. The device the officer held was the tablet Caesar had used to communicate. It all seems to point towards something deeper. The story ends here, however. The bitten Irene remains a dangerous hidden threat. There are many ways to interpret that final sound. Perhaps the most direct possibility is a remote signal from the research organization, suggesting this tragedy isn't isolated but part of a larger conspiracy. It implies that even though Caesar is dead, the savagery and the virus he represented will not vanish. They persist in another form, continuing to spread. This sound could also be a haunting proof of Caesar's existence. An echo of his suppressed consciousness lingering after death symbolizes that the trauma in Lucy's heart will never heal. This voice will remain her lifelong nightmare. Well, that concludes this blood-soaked tale. I'll see you in the next one.